Welcome to the City Center podcast from West Palm Beach. I'm Jerry Marcello. Modern technology has led to fantastic modern conveniences like having access to bank accounts, utility services, and even your health records. The problem is that there's a lot of other bad actors who would like to access your information and use it against you. In today's episode, we'll explore just how real the problem of cybercrime is, how the bad guys try to get your information, and what you can do to keep your information safe. That's coming up next. And joining us today is Paul Jones, the Chief Information Officer for the City of West Palm Beach. Paul, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
First question that always comes up. People know that there is indeed cybercrime and things to be aware of. Really, how bad is it?
It's bad. I mean, it's just all relative to the world we live in now. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is constantly happening. When I first came to the city, I did like 89, 90 presentations on cybersecurity awareness because it hadn't been done. And in those sessions, I'd always ask anybody been hit, anybody involved, and there wasn't but more than 5 presentations that somebody didn't say yes. Wow. And some of them were major. It is real, it is big, and it is something that everybody needs to be aware of.
Okay, so we're not kidding. This is something that folks really do need to worry about. Even the folks at home need to be concerned.
Absolutely not kidding. And yes, the folks at home, there's no one safe. Right. The bad actors are after any and everything they can get. And some people get confused. They think, I don't have anything, or they're not after little money, they're after just big money. Mm-hmm. But you got to realize, if I get $1 from 1 million people, which is not out of the scope in the online world, I just got $1 million.
Wow.
And so it's not the big things, it's everything that they're after.
Okay, so what are the things that concern you most? What techniques and things that people should be aware of? The
biggest thing that concerns me is the word awareness. If you think about how new this world is that we're living in, I did a presentation not long ago, and so I pulled up some dates, and the World Wide Web was 1989. So you're talking 35 years ago.
Yeah.
And you think about, in my lifetime, I didn't have any of these. And so you're talking about a world that's really, really new. And so to expect people to understand the depth of it and understand what can happen is not realistic. So making people aware and just making people cautious and making them understand what you can and can't trust is probably the biggest concern.
Trust. I think that's one of the most important things that you could ever talk about in this area, is that people work very hard to gain a false sense of trust from their victims. Should we always trust messages that we get via email or from text, or what should we do?
Let's look at it in perspective.
Yeah.
Before the internet, we were in a physical world. So for you to be involved in a crime, you pretty much had to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was going to be physical.
Right.
And that's what we all grew up in. So there's a thing that I call the bubble of trust. And so back then, the bubble of trust was small because you weren't exposed. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But when you talk about the internet now, all you have to do is turn on the computer to be involved in a crime. And when you think of the millions and, many millions of bad actors and folks that are out there to get you, it's a different world. So I do talk about popping the bubble of trust. You can't trust when you get on the internet. And we use a principle here that we're really big on. It's called zero trust. I really emphasize, you can't trust anything you hear. With the world of deepfakes today, anything you see, really anything you read. You used to say trust but verify. Yeah. Today I say don't trust, then verify. So we're really, zero trust to me is probably one of the biggest ways, because again, like you said, the bad actors, they know what they're doing. These aren't some anymore. This isn't somebody sitting in their garage. These are professional. Most of them are organized crime. And so they know what to go after. They know what to get from you and what they're trying to do. So you just have to be aware that there's probably as many, if not more, bad actors out there trying to get something from you than there are good actors trying to help you.
It's a little scary, but it's important for people to be aware that even if you get an email that looks like it's from someone you know, from a friend, from a known business or whatever, it might not be what it actually is.
Oh, and chances are, a lot of times it's not. And it should be scary because it is scary. Like I said, if I just look back at what the folks said they were involved in over the time that I've worked with or some of my friends, I saw people lose $250,000 in a real estate deal. So it's just lose their identity, which took 4 years to get back. You just think people just get like, I don't have anything or it's not going to happen to me. It can happen to you. And if you're not careful, it probably will. When you talk about emails and you talk about phishing, there's some signs that we look for.
Let's define phishing for folks.
Well, phishing is what the person that's trying to get you to take the bait or click on something. And real quick, how you get infected, you don't get infected opening an email. How somebody gets infected or gets tricked is either clicking on a link, opening an attachment, and a lot of times that link is going to take you, say, oh, enter your credentials. It looks like your bank or something. So they're trying to get your username and password, or they're trying to get you click on something that will infect you. So those phishing emails are designed to trick you. And so that's the biggest. Again, that's where the zero trust comes in. And these aren't little kids, like I said, in the garage trying to trick you. These are professionals.
No.
They know what's going to trigger you. They know how to go after you.
So it sounds like instead of the old mindset, okay, I'm going to get a virus and this virus is going to make my computer do something, we're seeing techniques and ploys that make you do something, either give information or whatnot.
Both. Yeah. And still, they'll get you to click on something that may load a virus, or they'll get you to click on something. And one of the latest, this is a while back, was dinner cards. Fill out this information. We're doing a survey at the end. We'll send you a card for Applebee's or something. And they start off and they're asking you pretty good questions, and then suddenly it starts getting pretty personal. I've never seen anybody get a dinner card, but I have seen people get their identity stolen.
Now, Paul, this may be out of left field, but let's see if I'm right here. What you just described sounds an awful like something you'll see often on social media, where it is, hey, find out what kind of Disney character you are. And then you have a series of questions. Do you like this? Do you like that? Did you go to school here? How old are you? Blah, blah, blah. And what they're actually doing is they're pulling information out of you.
Absolutely, positively. And that's the whole game. I mean, what they're after is information. They're after and again, it's interesting because, again, it doesn't have to be large sums of money. I tell people to check your bank accounts constantly because I can't tell you how many people have said, where is this $5 charge? It's from scam. Now, again, you take a whole bunch of $5, you got a lot of money.
That's right.
And that's what they're after. So it's not, it's any and everybody. I have a good friend of mine, just a quick story, who was, I walked into his house one day and he was on the computer and I said, John, you don't have any virus protection? You don't have anything. What are you doing? He said, I don't have anything on here anybody wants. I'm not worried about it. 2 months later, his wife called me. They got a virus and they lost all of their pictures, family pictures. So
wow.
Don't think you don't have something. Now, I didn't tell him that he said that because I want him to stay married. But you don't know what you have. You don't know what people want or what you could lose.
Yeah, and I think the convenience, as you said earlier, the convenience of having a technology where your bank account is on your phone, access to ready information, a list of phone numbers, a list of email accounts, they're all located somewhere that has value to some people.
What they're after, if you really look at it, they're usually after a few things. One is they're looking at any way to identify you. It's called PII, personally identifiable information. Your name, maybe social security number, something tied to a driver's license, some way that I can identify you. Because one of the big things, they want to steal your identity. And in doing that, they'll charge things in your name. And then the other thing they're looking for is, of course, any banking information. And then health information, HIPAA, and so on. So any of that stuff. And what people go, what do they do with it? They sell it on the dark web. And the dark web is really the criminal facility for
criminal supermarket.
Yeah, it is. There's nothing, and I mean nothing, that you can't buy if you can get on.
There are times when there's legitimate places on the web, say your bank or whatever, where they'll need some sort of bits of information. Is there a way to tell if you're on a site that's not what it seems to be?
Well, most of the sites that are going to be secure are going to end HTTPS. That's a secure site. But
Yeah.
it's getting to the point now to where you can't even really depend upon that. The best thing to do is call the bank and verify.
Sure.
I mean, just take the minute. Again, don't trust, verify.
So, okay, and a lot of the times we sort of get jumped ahead. We're now on like websites that we were told to go visit, but usually those requests to go to a website comes in the form of, say, an email or a text. An email would come and it will say, there's a problem with your account. We need you to immediately contact this office or click on this link and we'll get information from you. Pardon me. How can you tell, just by looking at an email, that you have something that's suspect?
Well, you can, you can't. One of the things, I don't know if there's a mouse hover. And what you do is you hover your mouse over
the little cursor,
yeah,
right?
The cursor. You hover it over like the link.
Yeah.
And most of the time, you'll see the link has nothing to do, like say Kohl's or some shopping.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it has nothing to do with that. And so you can kind of be suspect right there. In today's world, we used to say check for misspelling, check for all these things. It's kind of looks, but in today's world with AI, ChatGPT, a lot of the emails, the phishing emails you see are generated from AI. And so they're almost perfect. Wow. You can say, I want it to look like this and sound like this. So the biggest thing that you always can look for is a sense of urgency. These bad actors, what they're going to do, they want you to act quickly and they want you to act in a rush.
Without thinking.
Without thinking. And I always say, if you really have been with a company that you're a day late, a little late, they're going to cut you off. They want your business. Mm-hmm. So, always call and verify. That's the safest thing that you can do. Don't take for granted, because these bad actors, if you don't respond in 24 hours, we're going to cut you off. I've never been cut off.
Yeah.
And I don't know many people that have been. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to respond. And just to tell you how smart they are, a while back I got to observe an FBI investigation to be part, and they had some video of the bad actors doing marketing plans. Let's see, we want to send emails. Gosh, we get them to them on Monday because we know they have if we can figure out when they're on vacation, they can have an email. Because what they want you to do, they want you to hurry. They want you to be in a rush. They want you to whip through them. So, there is no safe method. I think the safest is zero trust. Don't trust, verify.
Verify. And that doesn't mean use the phone number that's in the email.
Oh, yeah. Very smart. No, who do you think you're calling when you use the phone number? You think they're going to say, oh, no, we were just trying to trick you?
We have heard in the news several instances where city government offices have fallen victim to malware and to having things encrypted. Well, first of all, let's define what malware is for folks. What exactly is that?
Malware is just really something that has some kind of illicit intent. Okay. It's something that's designed to do something to your system, even as simple as adware.
Sure.
But it's designed to it's something with some illicit intent.
And a lot of times where a city has fallen victim to a malware, it's an employee who's clicking on something that they think is innocent and it's not.
Oh, absolutely. That again, it goes back to security awareness. Mm-hmm. You hear the term, cybersecurity is not IT's responsibility. No, it's not. Because I like to say this: how many people have the keys to your house?
Just my wife and I.
You know how many people have the keys to the city's network house? Every employee.
Every employee.
So now you have something that people want and everybody has it. Right. So that's what you really have to be careful of. And I always say when I do some presentations, you take Riviera Beach, Pensacola, any of these places that got hit ransomware, and I say, how would you like to be the person that caused that? Because these folks are just like you sitting in the chair. Mm-hmm. And they just clicked on something, they did something that probably shouldn't have, and it ended up costing the city $1 million.
So what did you do when you've been with the city for many years? When it first started, I think you've told the story that our performance as far as being aware of possible malware and phishing was fairly low.
Oh, it right before they had done what you call a phishing test.
Yeah.
You send something out there. We do them monthly now, and it was a 45% click rate.
Wow.
So that means almost 1 out of every 2 people were clicking on something, and we're down below 4 now. And that is because we do phishing tests, we do training. Again, if somebody told you 70% of your income comes from this area, you'd focus. Mm-hmm. If somebody says 70% of breaches come from people clicking on the wrong thing, we better focus.
Yeah. So you all have a very stout and very in-depth process of training people here at the city to avoid clicking on things, to be aware, to report things that they see. Now, imagine that you have a family of 4. We've got mom and dad and a couple kids. That's a little tougher, especially when you have little kids. How can you work with young people and sort of educate them to the danger?
You know, there's 2 things. First of all, one of the things that's really important that people don't realize, you've got to keep your systems up to date. You got to keep them patched. Like you're always seeing, hey, you know, you need to install this, you need to install it. Because how this works is the bad actors somebody reports a hole in the system. Usually it's a security hole. Now the vendor will patch that. If you don't put that patch in, you got a hole in the system that the bad actors know that you don't. And so keeping them updated, keeping them patched, keeping those systems where they need to be is critical. It's very, very important. Keeping your virus protection up to date. Mm-hmm. For example, how virus protection works is it's updated. Nowadays it's updated pretty much instantly. But if it gets behind and it's not doing those updates, think of how many millions of viruses are out there this doesn't know about.
Yeah.
So keeping those things updated is one way that's really, but you just got to talk. You just got to, you know, one of the things too is you can't help but be involved in this. I did a presentation for the kids, I think it was the middle school kids, high school kids, on the Bring Your Kids to Work Day. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it just, you don't realize how vulnerable they are. Talk to your kids, make sure they understand, and make sure one of the important things is make sure that they'll come to you with anything. Mm-hmm. What happens a lot of times is these kids, young kids, they have a sleepover and they think they're talking to this young guy, and so they'll do something maybe they shouldn't have done.
Right.
And now the bad actors will blackmail them. So make it comfortable for your kids to come to you. That one mistake could be magnified 1 million times if they don't come to you.
Right.
And so, you know, again, and hopefully most people do that, but it's just important. This is a different world. And when I hear somebody say, well, you're in my business as my kid, I say, you bet I am.
You have to be.
I am in your business.
All right. So I hear you on keeping your systems updated. Get your computer, your software up to date so you're patching all the exploits. Is this a myth that, hey, you know what, I'm on a Mac, I don't have that to worry about that?
Yeah, it's a myth. I mean, you're vulnerable there too. Now, you're less vulnerable, and some of the reason, there's a couple of them, but the Macs, you know, are more restricted in what they do and what they use. The DOS systems, the Windows systems are wide open. I just said DOS. I just told my age.
Is there a difference as far as security is concerned if I were to go and click on something on a desktop rather than a phone? Because a lot of people use their phones for everything these days. You know,
phones are more restricted. Phones aren't usually tied, you know, to, you don't have all your you think about all the applications you use at home. So they're usually more restricted. They can still be as damaging. The problem is if you're connected to the phone, it could exploit, but you're less. It's interesting. I won't say what department, but there is a department that probably has had. They're making great strides. The highest number of clicks, and it's the ones they're clicking on the phone. So you know what I say is, because you can't really read it, and again that's what they're trying to do. One of the things that I really recommend is never click on your first read. Don't click on anything on and don't click on the phone. Get home, think it over, look at it, make sure, verify it. Don't click on first read. That's what the bad actors want you to do.
Right. They want you to rush. They want you to react immediately. They're going for an emotional response. Oh my gosh, someone's in my account. I gotta get some help.
And see, here's the thing. What we have a tendency in IT to do sometimes is think people should know. Oh my gosh, you should. Why? This is new. You know, I always ask, do you lock your car?
Yeah, I love my car.
You lock
Right.
your car
Sure.
because you know the bad actors through years and generations. The bad actors either want your car or what's in your car. See, we haven't had that exposure to this world,
Yeah.
so it's not second nature, and it's got to be. But until it becomes that, we've got to just be extremely careful and be aware of the ramifications. When you're online, again, I hate to continue to pound something, but zero trust is
no
the way to
one.
go.
Yes. So that's the best way to stay safe, is always check and verify, and then use alternate numbers and ways of contacting the original source to verify that that was really indeed what they were asking for.
Absolutely. And again, I like this. When I first did the presentations here, the next, I did want to think on a Friday, next Monday, I got on the elevator with the sweet little lady, and she was in tears. I said, "What? Can I help you? What? Is there anything I can do?" She said, "Oh, no. The IRS has been after me all weekend. They say I owe this money, and I'm going back, and gosh, I know I paid." And I said, "Okay, do you mind if I see your phone?" She showed me the phone, and there was no question it was a hoax. And so I said, "Do you mind if I typed?" I said, "Please refer any communication." I made up a law firm name. Boom. Never heard anything else. But why would we think she should know? She, again, when you talk about that bubble of trust, she can't imagine somebody spoofing the IRS.
Right.
She can't imagine somebody, my mother, who gets online from time to time, if she sees something that says Children's Mission, she's probably going to give. One day I showed her it was going to Russia. You know what she said? "I like Russian kids." She's not going to Russian kids. But
No.
again, just that not being able to trust is foreign.
Sure.
When you tell
You
people,
wanna trust.
when I say to people zero trust, it's almost like, because
It seems dark.
Yeah, we've grown up to trust. In fact, it's interesting when I do a presentation sometimes to the new leaders, and the first one I did, I was talking zero trust, and Mike Russell, who's the HR trainer, really, really good trainer, he came up to me and said, "Paul, right, my next session is on The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey." I said, "Okay, hold on. I want you to understand we're talking about online, not each other. We can trust each other."
That's right. When you're in the room, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we've covered a lot of stuff here, and I think the most important thing, especially the folks at home, is one, to know that there are dangers. It is real. It is something that you need to be aware about. But there are simple things you can do to protect yourself. Start by verifying anything that you may see. Expect someone to send you something. I think that's one of the things that I know people get I've had folks come to me and say, "Oh my gosh, Jerry, there's this window that popped up that told me that I've got an infection and I need to call this number that's on the screen right now. What should I do?" And I'm going, that's the thing you're trying to avoid.
That's it. That's what they're trying to do. It's so interesting because I have a cousin who is a really brilliant businessman. So I walked into his house one day and I wanted to talk to him, and he kind of shrugged me off. "Shh." I said, "Okay." He said, "What's going on?" He said, I got somebody, man, they found a virus on my computer and they're fixing it. I unplugged this computer.
Wow.
I said, you probably didn't have one, but you do now." And again, it goes back to that thinking people should know.
Yeah.
If you're not in this world, you don't know. But we've got to build that paranoia. I do what I call a healthy paranoia. You go into it, you have a paranoia. Now, unhealthy paranoia is I'm not going to use it. So that's pretty unhealthy. So we want to use it, but we want to use it with the understanding of what it can be.
Wow. Okay. Very good. We've covered a lot of ground here. Is there a single message you would like to share with folks who live here in West Palm, and actually anyone who happens to be listening to this, about what they should be doing and to keep themselves, their information, their family safe?
Yeah, I say, just be aware, be smart, and people aren't afraid of anything they don't think can happen to them. Be concerned and be cautious and be afraid. Okay. I mean, one of the biggest things we do in security awareness training is we try to get your attention, and sometimes that's scaring you.
Yeah.
But we're scaring you with reality. We're not scaring you like the bad actors online are with this makeup, "Hey, do this and we'll take care of you." Just you need to keep your systems up, as we talked about. You just need to be careful. Don't public Wi-Fi. Don't do business on the public Wi-Fi. Make sure you're in a secure area when you're sharing. Make sure your information is locked down. There's just be careful. There's so much online that you can get, even YouTube, about how to lock things down, how to be careful. Just continue. What happens, I always call it, the curve. If you think about what happens, when it goes along and something happens, the curve is really high, and then suddenly nothing happens for a while, the curve drops off, right? Yeah. Then something happens, boom. So what we try to do, our focus is to keep the curve like this, not like this. And you've got to do that by just continually understanding and realizing that this next venture you do online could be very costly.
Gotcha. Paul Jones, thank you so much for your time today. I want to let the people know at home that, the city of West Palm Beach is working hard to keep its systems safe.
Absolutely.
And keep things operating as smoothly as possible here. And the advice that we've shared today will help folks at home do the same thing.
One thing, that's why I like what I do, because the same things that I talk about keeping the city safe keeps you personally safe. And it's such an important thing. And I do want to say to the people that we have a very professional team, and we take this very, very serious. Because again, it's all of us that suffer if we don't.
Absolutely. Paul Jones, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you much.
And thank you for joining us. This has been the City Center Podcast from West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm Jerry Marcello. We'll see you next time.